Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard. In the first segment, we discussed how it is important to get into trouble. Now, in this one, the panel discusses the implication of awards on creativity.
Do you think awards have a role to play in that, in creating these ads which don't do nothing?
I mean, yes. Yes.
You're
I mean,
not wearing a DNAD president.
No, I'm not.
Now,
I mean, I'm not DNAD president.
You're only
anymore.
Mr. President. Yeah.
Yes, in some ways, because people get excited by other people's work, and actually, what you're doing in that judging situation is, amongst your peers, your creative directors, it's really creative directors saying which ads creative directors like, not necessarily the ones that had the biggest impact. But I think that's also a responsibility of the judges to try to think a little bit beyond what might be cool and look at actually, you know, what's useful and or interesting to the consumer.
We've spoken about...
I think with awards,
yes,
it's because awards have now been taken over by accountancy,
right.
They've become incredibly harmful. The awards were great when they were a byproduct. There's a line that everybody gets wrong, which is money is the root of all evil. That's not the correct line. The correct line is love of money is the root of all evil. So it is with awards. There's no harm in awards, but love of awards is where the harm is. And people who do the job solely for awards, which most people do nowadays in advertising, because that's how the bookkeepers who run ad agencies, they can only judge a thing by how many awards it's won. So for a creative director, if I now get you to run my branch office in Shanghai or wherever, your job is now to win lots of awards. So as a creative director, you're no longer talking to the public, you're winning awards. You're talking to a jury. However, you've got to win awards. So awards, because of the Gum report, awards have become incredibly harmful because now the big conglomerates match up with each other to see, they need numbers. People who run agencies are accountants, and accountants only understand numbers. So 6 awards is better than 4 awards. It doesn't matter if the 6 awards are for best hosepipe in a foreign language. It's an award. They don't, and that's all accountants understand. So awards have just become another currency. It used to be that you won an award because everybody in the country talked about your ad.
Yes. Yeah.
So award was a byproduct of having done a great ad. Nowadays, award is an end product because creative directors need it to be able to stand up in front of the conglomerate when all the different branch agencies meet and say, well, we won more awards than Publicis, or we won more awards than Omnicom.
Yeah.
So it's
and
just...
actually, you know, I've spoken to a lot of the network creative directors, and they're all completely measured on the amount of awards they've won. You know, that's what they get their bonuses on. If they don't win the right amount of awards, their job, you know, is potentially at risk, or someone will bring someone else in who can who can win more awards.
So I can't come to you and say, this is great because everybody in China was talking about this ad. That counts for nothing.
right.
I say this is great because it won 7 awards. It won the Hong Kong Lotus, and it won the Shanghai Chameleon, Golden Chameleon, and it won the, you know, and okay, well, 7, I'll tick that off, that's more than they won.
Yeah.
It's just become numbers.
Right. So suppose you know, Martin Sorrell called you for coffee and said, I'd pay you $1 million for 10 minutes of advice, what would you give him?
Well, it depends. You've got to start off with what's the purpose in what you're doing. For Martin Sorrell, the purpose is to make money and be the biggest.
Right now
In which case,
he's forgotten that, and he's left that aside, and he says, okay, I want WPP to be the most loved communication company. What is the advice you would give him?
well, you go back to finding out what turns people on and what's going to get into the language and what's going to excite people. So that it used to be that people said, I prefer the adverts to the programs. Now, I haven't heard that for 20 years. People now, something like that's going to have to happen with ad blocking. Yeah, people now just want to block ads out. That used to not be the way. It used to be the way you got people to watch your ads was to charm people, and they'd enjoy your ads, and they'd pick up your line, and your line would get used in the newspapers, and your line would become a punchline for conversations, and school kids would use your song. Once you want to get back into the language, become part of the language again, and stop being either a piece of art on the one hand or just a number on the other, someone get back into the language.
Laura, if Martin Sorrell offered you a blank check to buy your company, would you take the check?
No, absolutely not.
So why not?
No. Well, first of all, I think we're just starting out and we haven't discovered exactly who we are yet. But I love the idea of independence, because what that allows us to do.
We've heard that before from hundreds of companies who finally sold to a network agency.
Of course.
But we all do finally.
Oh, no.
No, don't they?
No.
No? BBH did, you know.
Well, what I would love to do is to build something like Widens, where it's still, you know, an independent agency of real value, doing some great work. You know, there's no need to sell. I think that's, like from a financial point of view, it's much better to create an amazing agency making amazing work and take a dividend from that for the rest of your life than it is to kind of sell, sort of kill your baby and then sort of leave after 3 or 5 years and have to go start something else or whatever. You know, I might change my mind, but certainly at the moment I'm loving the fact that we don't have one client in the building that we're doing for the money. Every single one of our clients, we're working with them because we love their product and we love them as people and we work together well. And it's such a relief after, you know, a couple of very, very hard years, particularly in the digital industry, watching, as Dave was saying, like just the bottom, you know, the carpet being ripped out from underneath it. There's so little creativity in digital advertising now. You know, there's loads of creativity in terms of people like RGA creating products that really touch people's heart, and that's a different kind of creativity. But, you know, digital advertising, there's kind of nothing left of it now.
Right. Okay, I'm going to ask each of you a last question, and we can, you know, take a bit of a break you want to think about. I want you to tell me one recent ad that you love. One ad that you love.
Ever?
You know?
Ever?
No, now.
Oh,
recent ad.
That's very difficult. Hasn't been anything for ages that I wish I'd done. No, it hasn't been anything for ages. There's tons of stuff I wish I'd done, but not recently.
What's the last thing you wish you'd done?
Okay, I'll tell you. There's one. I don't particularly like it, but I admire what it did. Was it was Mother, which is not my kind of agency. We don't agree on anything. But they did one ad that was for Confused.com of a guy in stockings and suspenders walking down the street to the tune of Don't You Wish Your Girlfriend Was a Hot Like Me? Yeah. And at the end of it, Ozzy Osbourne's wife says, "Ooh, Dave darling, you're so money supermarket." Now I thought that was a rubbish campaign up until they did that ad. And that ad got the front page of the Sun newspaper, and it got on TVAM, and it doesn't matter what I think of it, that's what you should be doing, getting into the language like that. You've quadrupled your spend by the free media you've generated. Up until then, I hadn't heard anybody talking about Confused.com. I hadn't heard anybody even mention the brand, but suddenly then, everybody's repeating that line, and all the school kids, I can hear them saying to each other, "Ooh, Dave darling, you're so money supermarket." Sorry, not Confused.com, right. Money supermarket.
Right.
Branding is a problem, you see, with that. So, but then they finally did with that one line with Cheryl Osborne saying it. So that would be one thing recently that I love the result they got.
Yeah. Laura, are you as harsh as David? Do you go back?
I think it's harder to find things that you love. You know, even I always used to, you know, to have 100 things that I love, and they're not as common now. But I do still absolutely love Like a Girl. I wish I had done that. That has changed. That has changed people's language. It's actually, you know, stopped people saying, "Oh, you know, you do that like a girl," globally, which is amazing. You know, so it's not only been a really successful piece of advertising, and you know, it's got lots of views, it's blah 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 blah, all that stuff. But it's actually really been successful in that, you know, everyone actually knows it, and it's changed culture. So that for me is like an amazingly powerful piece of work.
It's small space, tiny, cost nothing. Was a sheriff in Alabama did it, and he just goes, he sticks it up on all the walls where all the drug dealers are, and all the trees and the lampposts, and it says, "Drug dealers, help eliminate your competition. Phone this number and turn them in."
Fantastic.
And I think that's a great ad, taking the whole thing and turning it around.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And it costs nothing.
Yeah.
So,
fantastic. Takes a thief to catch a thief.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Step out of that comfort zone, stop worrying about procurement, and don't stress too much about winning awards. Be liberated, be creative. With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all our content on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with our regular episode. Goodbye.